So you're going to have tonight, 7 o'clock will be Gonzaga, Florida State.
I got Florida State winning that.
I do too. And then the second game in the Gonzaga season is Texas Tech and Michigan. I didn't have Texas Tech in the Final Four. I think I have in that bracket. I have to look back. I think I have Gonzaga, but I'm not positive.
No, I think you told me you didn't have, you like me had because I have Texas Tech, Duke, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Now Florida State, I have them beating Gonzaga, but I got
Florida State. I'm sorry, I have Florida State in the Final Four.
I
That's
think
my
you're
Final
your
Four
numbers
team.
guy. In addition to being a grid writer for the Independent Tribune of Concord and Kannapolis, where I live, my paper of record. I like Texas Tech. I think they are the number one defensive team. They and Virginia are the two best teams in terms of defense and points allowed in the country. You'd have to check me on that, but I really like what Texas Tech is doing.
They're a tough team. They were here last year, so they have the experience of being there, for a second straight year. They're a tough-minded team playing in the Big 12, which wasn't exactly stellar this year. It's still a tough conference. They're a good team. They had the Player of the Year in the conference. You're right. They're one of the best defensive teams. Virginia's obviously maybe the best defensive team in the nation.
Right.
Houston's another great defensive team.
Very underrated. Houston. I had them here.
I had them here as well, but this is as far as they go. I'm a fan in today's basketball, college basketball. I'm a fan of teams that can put the ball in the basket.
Right.
The way things are these days, holding teams under 30% or 40% doesn't impress me as much as it used to. Not that it's bad or anything, but I want the way things are, the way shooting is these days. I want to see teams that can put the ball in the basket. And North Carolina's as good as it gets at putting the ball in the basket. Teams like Auburn, teams like Duke, these teams that can get the ball in the basket, score a lot of points. Those are the ones I support.
It's also the silly season for which is the NASCAR term. We'll get to some NASCAR later. Big news there. But it's also the coaching carousel is spinning. Rumors of Kelvin Sampson possibly leaving Houston, maybe even going to Arkansas, we're hearing. And we know that Buffalo's coach is going down to Alabama because apparently winning at Alabama is not good enough for basketball. Ask Avery Johnson. Ask Anthony Grant, among others.
Well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Buffalo coach, about 6 years ago, the Buffalo coach was a high school teacher. Right. And now all of a sudden he's got a job at Alabama, so he's doing okay. It's as big a step as you're going to take if you're a coach from Buffalo to go there. The coaching carousel, it happens every year. Kelvin Sampson, I
like Kelvin Sampson.
I wouldn't want that baggage with his track record.
Well, he hadn't done anything lately.
Goody.
What was the last time he did anything? He was crooked at Indiana, right? For
crooked at
long
Indiana.
Distance phone calls. Well, nowadays long distance calls are free.
No, he served whatever show cause, whatever penalty he had to serve. He's done that. Obviously, he's at Houston. I think Houston, the way they seem to be stepping up their programs, they went out and got West Virginia's football coach, Dana Holgorsen.
I think that's a great hire for
deal.
West Virginia. I love Dana Holgorsen. I think he's a tremendous football coach.
I don't think he's that much of a football. But whatever the case, whatever the case, Houston is in it to win it. So I think they'll figure out a way to keep Kelvin Sampson.
Would you rather have Kelvin Sampson or Rick Pitino right now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right.
That's a good question. You're going recent track record. I don't want to have anything to do with Coach Pitino either.
I wouldn't either. Anyway, but I like we both like Florida State. I remember Stan Luter and I at the ACC tournament, and Stan and I both were in agreement that Florida State provides a defensive nightmare for the opposing team. They're so big and long
and they're
tall.
athletic, and they get after you, and they can guard multiple positions.
Yes.
And they just come at you, and that's the way a good Leonard Hamilton team is. They come at you
from Gastonia.
Yeah, and it's really in there. They're really in your face, and they have guys who can, again, put the ball in the basket. They're going to get a good player right from here next year, in Patrick Williams from West Charlotte. He's heading to Florida State. So he's one of the best players in the state, best player in the city. Right. So they're going to just get better. I think this is the time Leonard Hamilton is going to take this team to the Final Four. I think his athletes are it's tough to overlook. Like I said, they're in your face. They're playing really well right now, and they're coming out of arguably the toughest conference in America.
They were 4 seconds away from getting knocked out of the ACC tournament first game.
Yeah, yeah.
And Virginia Tech, they just, because of their length, their size, they just kept battling for a rebound, and they got a stick back late, a three to tie it with 4 seconds to go. Virginia Tech didn't call a timeout and went to overtime, and Florida State wore them down and won the game. Really like what Florida State's doing. I like their athleticism, and I just think that hanging around in the NCAA tournament, as Maryland, Baltimore County, and Virginia can attest to, these top seeds, they get tight. The longer that these teams hang around, and the crowd kind of loves the underdog,
especially when you have all the one seeds still around. So I can see that. I really think the pressure really is, of all those teams that you probably, where the pressure can really tighten up the most, is really on one team, and that's Duke, because Duke is the overall consensus to win it all and everything, and they really, they escaped the round of 32 game against a really good UCF team.
Very well coached ball club by Johnny Dawkins.
Absolutely. I saw them play.
Who's a Redskins fan, I might add.
Yeah, I saw them play at a tournament in Myrtle Beach in the fall, and they won the tournament, beating teams like West Virginia, beating teams like St. Joe's, which would have been the A-10's best if they hadn't been ravaged with injuries.
And Phil Martelli, a great coach, got fired.
Yeah.
I can't believe that, because I think he's a tremendous basketball coach.
I was disappointed in it, not because the teams struggled this year, because they did after that tournament, but they had so many injuries. He didn't have a full complement of players to work with.
He didn't forget how to coach.
No, you didn't get that. We talked about that with Clifford. We talked about it with Ron Rivera.
Right.
These guys didn't get dumber overnight.
No.
They know how to coach.
I love Phil Martelli.
And now you got to get the players, and I thought he had the players this year. Watching that team play, they had guys who could shoot the three. They were really exciting to watch, and then they got hurt.
Now, you bring up Duke, the number one overall seed. They're the number one rated team, I would have to say, not just in terms of their ranking, but when Duke is on TV, the ratings for whatever channel they're on go up.
Absolutely.
As Pete Gillen once said, they're on TV more than Leave It to Beaver reruns.
That used to be the case. Now everybody's on TV.
I didn't say it in the exact Leave It to Beaver reruns with that New York accent.
Right.
Like you could translate for me. But Duke is like, and I know this from my wrestling days, I was a villain for most of my career. I was a bad guy. I loved it. I thrived on the boos and the jeers and the debris being thrown, being castigated with the animosity of the crowd. Duke is the number one villains in all of college basketball, and I think they love it. I don't think Coach K does. He'll never admit it. But you know what? When they go into any building, they're hated.
Yeah, they are. But I don't think that's as much the case as it used to be, because you look, it was always about nobody likes Christian Laettner, nobody likes J.J. Redick, nobody likes Bobby Hurley. I don't know.
They draw, man. That's
who doesn't like Zion
They draw
Williamson?
big ratings. They draw. They're bringing in the revenue.
Of course they do. But now everybody's on TV, so it's not like they don't. Everybody is. And who doesn't like Zion Williamson?
See, he's the thing, and we pointed this out during the tournament. Duke is the number one villainous team in the country, but Zion Williamson is the most popular player.
Yeah.
So the most popular player in America plays for the most hated team in America.
I think I agree, but I don't think they're as much of a villain as they used to be, because of the players that aren't there.
Only because Christian Laettner is not there, and maybe
J.J. Redick and Bobby Hurley and all those guys.
I'd have to say Laettner is more hated than Redick, but they are 1 and 2.
If you took one, you took the other. You wouldn't be wrong one way or the other. I don't think
they didn't do a special on ESPN, a 30 for 30 hating Christian Laettner. They did Christian Laettner, but they didn't do hating J.J. Redick.
Right.
At least not yet.
Well, Christian Laettner is a lot more accomplished as a player. Wow. He won titles as well. He hit bigger shots than Redick ever hit.
But I will say this about Duke and Virginia Tech: Duke did beat them this year.
Yeah.
And if you beat them once, you can beat them again. And
sure.
I don't think that Zion Williamson played in that game.
No.
So I really think the matchup is, and now with this off-court distractions for Virginia Tech, I would like to think that, and even though I love Coach Buzz Williams, who reportedly is being wooed by Texas A&M,
right.
We're hearing lots of. They got more money than the Treasury down there. I covered A&M football and basketball in 08 and 09. They got big money.
They're serious about their program
too.
They went out and got Jimbo Fisher. I mean, that's gave him a humongous deal, $75 million. And they're in it to win it too.
And Coach Williams is from the state of Texas. One of my close friends works with Coach Williams' father for a defense contractor out in Texas. So it would be a homecoming, and I think it'd be great because I like Coach Williams. He's done nothing but bring the Virginia Tech basketball program back up to I think heights it hadn't seen maybe ever.
I mean, yeah, whenever he leaves, whenever it is, if it's this year or down the road, he's going to be the greatest coach that Virginia Tech's ever had. He
better than Charlie Moyer.
Yes.
Okay, you didn't even know who he is, but I knew. Wait a minute.
Making an appearance.
Did you pass pre-race inspection here, William Wilson?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I was like 6 laps ahead, so I had.
All right, so William
we're just
Wilson
happy you
joining
showed
us.
up at all.
Glad that you can get your lap back here. We're talking about the NCAA tournament here. We've touched on Duke being, I'm considering them the most hated team in America, but also has the most popular player in America in Zion Williamson. But Virginia Tech facing some off-court distractions to one of their players being, was he charged with marijuana possession but tested positive for weed, so he didn't do it. But there's a lot of off-court distractions, if nothing else. Mountaineer Mike and I both like Gonzaga losing in their bracket, even though they're a number 1 seed to Florida State. I think Texas Tech's going to win that bracket. I kind of like Duke. I have them winning it all, so they're villains. All right, who you like?
Either do I.
I don't really have a strong feeling about it right now. But I just don't think Duke. I think Duke is all dependent upon one person. I think they're too one-dimensional, but they've always been one-dimensional. So they either live and die by the one same thing, and then Zion comes in. And I think when Zion comes in, they just completely change everything that they're built upon, that Duke has been built upon for years, and they work around what they are to become someone different when Zion's on the court. And I just don't think that's necessarily going to work because though he may be a dominant player, I just don't think they play well against that zone. I think you got a zone with a shooter just doesn't work.
They're a terrible shooting team. They're one of the worst shooting teams from three-point range in the country. I mean, from 351 teams, they're in the 300s. And I think the game against UCF, if nothing else, showed exactly what you can do to try and beat them, and that's just play off them. Play off all those guys. Just to select guys. Guard 3 of these guys, the 3 freshmen, and lay off the other 2, and let them have the ball and see what they can do with it. And
force them to beat you. Exactly.
What they call that, the old triangle and 2 defense.
Yeah,
they're just going to play tough on these guys, but then just kind of other guys float.
Now, it also helped for UCF. They had their big guy Taco Fall, which was a great strategy by Johnny Dawkins. He had him guard assigned to one of the Duke guards and just stayed in the paint and dared those guys to shoot, and they couldn't hit it. So he could just hang out in the paint.
And that tape, Buzz Williams has shown the tape to his guys. There's going to be, and he's a good coach, Buzz Williams at Virginia Tech, good coach. He's going to have, and they beat Duke earlier this year without Zion Williamson. But I do think that Coach Williams will have a good strategy for the Hokies.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're going to do it. I mean, and Duke is what Duke is. We'll be having the same conversation with Duke and somebody else next year because they're at that level where they don't regroup, they just reload. They pick out this, that, and the other. But the game is kind of shifting. And Duke, Krzyzewski is such an amazing floor general. He can adjust whatever's in front of him.
Army man, by the way.
So don't care. But I think he can adjust the stuff on the field, on the court, just like Belichick can adjust the stuff that's on the field. Saban can adjust the things on the field. So Duke has their identity, but Krzyzewski can look and say, okay, we need to do this. And he prepares his guys as best as they can be prepared for what's in front of them, not just that particular team, because they have their base format to make adjustments to.
I agree. And I think one of the things that you mentioned about how it revolves around Zion when he's in the game, I think I don't disagree with that. He's such a ridiculous talent. I was skeptical last year at this time about how good he would be coming into the year. And he totally blew me away by his skill set. He's unbelievably talented. He's deserving of all the accolades and all the stuff there.
Now, we've talked about Duke and Gonzaga, Florida State, Virginia even. Who else is on the docket tonight?
Well, we got tonight Michigan takes on Texas Tech. I think Michigan's going to win that game.
I think Texas Tech's going to win. And Mike, we talked about we like their defense. I have Texas Tech in the Final Four.
Well, I'll tell you this: if Michigan and we like Florida State,
we like John Beilein.
I'm a
Michigan.
Beilein. Right? I've mentioned this to a lot of people. I tweeted this out as a Mountaineer. I said, the great coach Fred Schaus coached Jerry West to a championship game. Gail Catlett was the coach when I was at school. Bob Huggins got him back to a Final Four.
Love Hug.
But my favorite West Virginia basketball coach of all time was John Beilein. I hated to see him go. I understood, but it was really sad to see him go.
Favorite player? I can tell you who mine is. You haven't mentioned him yet, but I have a favorite player that actually went to West Virginia. Hot Rod Hundley.
He was an outstanding player. Hot Dog Hundley, as some guys like to call him.
Later played and then was the broadcaster for the New Orleans, then now the Utah Jazz, and did it by himself, which is extremely hard to do. he was his own play-by-play and color guy.
By the way, the other game tonight in the South region, Virginia takes on the 12 seed, Oregon, and Purdue and Tennessee meet.
I really like the athleticism of Oregon. I have a friend in my building, Inez Hegland, from Oregon, went to school at Oregon. And so she's big on the Oregon Ducks. I like their athleticism with Oregon. They're a team that could give Virginia fits. Virginia is a more of a rigid, we're going to play that deliberate, as we used to say in the old days under J.D. Barnett at VCU, the deliberate style. We're going to take the air out. We're going to milk possessions, run the shot clock down, almost a shot clock 4 corners, if you will.
Right. Now, the question is for me is with Oregon is can they put the ball in the basket enough to beat Virginia? We talked about this before we went on the air. Virginia
60 points wins that game. If you're Oregon and you get 60, you're going to win.
Yeah, you could. Absolutely. You're definitely in good shape if you can get out of the 50s. I totally agree with that. Now, can they get out of the 50s?
I
don't think so either.
What else we got?
And those are the matchups for tonight. Obviously, tomorrow, North Carolina, Auburn will be a fun matchup on Friday. Houston and Kentucky will be a matchup on Friday.
Yeah, what about North Carolina? I really like I have them in the final game. I think it's going to be. I think it's if you give me Duke and North Carolina in the field, I'll take Duke and North Carolina. If you give me Virginia, Duke and North Carolina, I'll take that and put some extra on it.
I think North Carolina is playing about as well as anybody can play in the country. Their only loss recently was that real heartbreaker to Duke in the tournament. Really exciting game.
There's got to be a stat out there, Mike, and you know that losing in the ACC tournament, that Duke or North Carolina has gone on to win the national tournament probably several times each.
That probably is. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't know if there's a whole lot of stock into that. Winning a conference tournament is a precursor to losing in the. I'll
tell you one thing, Mike. If nothing else, our friend Leaky Black from Concord and Cox Mill, is reserve, was really highly touted to coming in, but hurt his knee early in the year. Yep. Fell out of the rotation, now is healthy, but Coach Williams doesn't want to mix up the rotation right now. We know I love Carla Bridges, Leakey's mom, so former principal at Concord High. So definitely like the Concord connection with the Tar Heels.
Kobe White became the real star.
He's the star. He's the man.
Team as a freshman, and he became one of the best players in the conference. As just a freshman, so he became the standout player on that team. We talked about before. My thing with college basketball these days is the way it is now with so many young players being used, their inability to shoot consistently, whatever. I tend to favor the teams that can put the ball in the basket. It sounds very simplistic or whatever, but if you can put the ball in the basket, I think that impresses me more than your ability to hold a team under 40% shooting or whatever. And North Carolina's as good as it gets at putting the ball in the basket.
All right, Mike, Nasser Little, who's he play for?
Nasser Little,
right.
North Carolina.
Right. Questionable, did not practice and is questionable, William Wilson. I think that North Carolina needs him if they're going to beat Auburn. A very good Auburn team that, who's the guy? Bruce Pearl, former Tennessee guy, got run out for some improprieties at Tennessee, which
surprise,
which apparently are legal at Auburn.
Well, Auburn, there's some schools that just care about winning. They're like, we'll take your chances. Some people, there's some organizations. Like, remember when JetBlue had that wreck down in Florida?
Yeah, I remember. I used to fly JetBlue.
Everybody's like, I'm not flying JetBlue. No, put me on JetBlue because they're being looked at. They know all their maintenance records are taken care of. All their stuff is checked because they know they're being looked at. Everyone else is going. Everyone's looking at JetBlue. We're good over here. Give me the guys that know they're under scrutiny because they have to pay attention to the small things. And I think you get Bruce Pearl. Right now Auburn knows. One, they probably got Bruce Pearl a lot cheaper than they would have ever gotten him before, because not like he didn't forget how to coach basketball.
Yep, one of Mike's points.
So you got him cheap. He's going to be looked at, so he's going to do everything above board for at least the first 3 or 4 years.
Maybe.
No, he'll do it above board for a few years because he knows he's being looked at.
Right.
So then you get him in, they get your program up. You want to bring in somebody else? Cool. If not, he's brought your program up to a point where he'll buy himself a little equity. The boosters are happy. The trustees are happy.
Bobby Louder, the booster.
He knows how to build a program now. How legitimate it is or whatever. But he got Tennessee as the #1 team in the country.
I know.
There you go.
He walked right into something and he didn't know it. He mentioned there's a lot of crookery in the SEC where people just care about winning. By the way,
that's crookery all across the board.
Arkansas is looking for a new head coach and reportedly looking at Kelvin Sampson, an offender, a guy who's gotten a couple of teams put on probation. So apparently at Arkansas, winning is all that matters.
Well, I mean, there are very few really, really good coaches who have been guilty of doing something. it kind of comes with the territory. At some point, you just realize, I don't trust any politician that says they're not a liar. I don't trust any crew chief that says all his cars are always ready to go through tech without anything being done.
You're not cheating. You're not trying.
I don't trust any coach that says we do everything completely above board, because the system is set up to facilitate the person who tries to push they may not break the rules, but they bend them to their max flex before it snaps.
All right. Well, we're going to get to more college basketball, some NBA. Big news in NASCAR, William Wilson. I can't wait to talk to you about that.
The new schedule.
We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. This is Talking About Sports.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kemba Walker for No Leezy.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow.
As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports.
Best food around.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports with Mountaineer Mike Freer, William Wilson, and we're talking about the North Carolina Tar Heels. Nasser Little, questionable with an illness against, I think, a team that's playing with house money, you might say, Auburn. I like North Carolina. I like North Carolina to make a long run. I have them in my final game against Duke. And they're playing a lot of guys. They have a good rotation. Coach Williams, a proven winner, and a good system.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Carolina, Roy Williams does things. He has depth. He builds in some depth to his team. So if one of his guys gets hurt, there's another guy. He may not be the same exact level of the guy that he got hurt, but he's 3 points behind him. He's 100% this gets guys at 95. So, he's still good to go.
By the way, we're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, and it's the opening day in Major League Baseball, and the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles are on many of the TVs here. And the Yankees
just went yard.
Who's the guy somebody hit a home run for the Yankees, and they're up 3-0.
428
feet.
feet.
If I know less about what happens to the Yankees.
Well, you're a Mets guy, and I'm obviously a Reds guy. Who do you like? You like anybody in baseball? You like baseball?
Well, I'm kind of a Red Sox fan, but the Yankees invite me down to training camp, spring training. I got
with the Yanks, right?
Yeah, I got friends. The first baseman's a friend of mine. So the pitcher's a friend of mine. So I'm probably more Yankees than the Red Sox now.
Who's your pitcher? What's the guy?
Jordan Montgomery.
All right, there you go.
Break my heart, William. Break my heart.
So I don't really have a dog in the fight at the end of the day.
So we're talking North Carolina, and I like what they're doing. I think they're going to make a long run. I think they're going to beat Auburn. What else besides North Carolina, Auburn today?
We got Houston and Kentucky on Friday as well. That's the other matchup.
Who's your buddy who likes Kentucky?
Kevin.
Where's he?
Go Kevin Porter. I don't know.
But he's not like this.
He's not running up any bills here today, is he?
No, he's not going to dine and dash
he's
today.
He's not like this, because I have Kentucky winning that region.
I don't.
I think it pains me to say it because I'm not the biggest Cal fan of all time.
Again, Calipari, another coach with skeletons in his closet and issues in his resume.
Another SEC team where crookery is involved.
He's got some players there that
was
really.
It Eddie Sutton back in the FedEx box opened that was addressed to Chris Mills, and cash fell out of the FedEx box, and Eddie Sutton got fired and found his way to Oklahoma State, where
you got a team to another Final Four.
Yeah. Yep. So there's crookery in the SEC.
Tiger Woods, but it's not just in the SEC. It's crookery everywhere. It's just like schools like VCU. No one cares if they cheat or not.
Now the other
nobody cares about junior colleges. It takes 4 years to get out of.
The other matchup, speaking of shady.
I don't think we've ever been crooked, man. Well, we did have Dana Kirk, who later coached Memphis State. He did do some time in the federal pen for some racketeering and gambling and money laundering, but not while at VCU, only at Memphis State.
But at least he didn't cheat.
He didn't cheat at VCU.
He's a felon. You're talking trash about you got a felon as a coach.
Well, no, but
you guys are sitting in jail with Trump's guys.
No, not when he was at VCU. It was later when he went to Memphis State.
No, he got caught. You know what happened? He left for junior college, went to a real school, and then people started paying attention to what he was doing.
Well, we were winning with him.
No one pays attention.
We were in the top 25 then.
So crime pays, at least at Memphis. That's
what I'm saying. They went to a real school, Memphis State, or Memphis now. When he's at VCU, no one cared because who cares about VCU?
Well, we got to the
no
Final
one's
Four
looking at
later
him.
on. I mean, we were good. We always used to win whatever league we were in at the time.
Oh, that's nice. That's like saying I'm the smartest kid in remedial school.
Now talk about Shady.
You still
Talk
can't
about-
do math.
Talk about Shady is the other matchup we hadn't talked about in the East is LSU and Michigan State.
By the way, a former VCU head coach, Will Wade, suspended indefinitely for crookery. I think he's on tape on a federal wiretap,
Yes.
offering straight cash homie to a recruit.
So apparently, what you're
Another
telling me
SEC
is,
team.
So what you're telling me is, people leave VCU, then go to a real school, and then they get caught with their cheating.
Well, we must
Maybe
not be
they
paying
learned
them
to
enough
do that.
legit.
That's two coaches that's left VCU and then got in trouble. They didn't master their craft at VCU.
Will Wade hasn't been officially
they
charged
learned it at
and
VCU
sentenced
and then they
yet.
perfected it elsewhere.
Exactly. Or tried to.
Will
Yeah.
Wade hasn't his situation. He hadn't been charged with anything. You have to be charged with something before you go to court.
That is true.
Well,
So-
when you're caught on a wire, though, it's not good.
I think
Some
it's
things are
about time.
foregone conclusions.
You need Johnny
And
Cochran.
They're doing well without him. I mean, they're in this spot.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, some of the pundits I think were even saying like the pregame, like Kellogg and Charles Barkley and some of those guys were saying there's two things that could happen. They could lose the first round, get out of there, and get over with, or they could band together under the interim coach, who I think is doing a very good job.
well, they're trying to treat this as a potential Steve Fisher back in the day at Michigan State when he took over right before the tournament for a guy named Bill Frieder, who left to go to Arizona State.
Right.
He took the job before the tournament started, and Bo Schembecker, who was the AD, former Michigan football
Michigan
coach,
man wants a
he told him, forget it, I want a Michigan man coaching Michigan, and he went to his assistant, Steve Fisher, who only went on and won the tournament with Glenn Rice and Ramiro Robinson and those guys, and obviously that was just a few years before Fab Five, but yeah, they're trying to treat this run as potentially like that, which it could happen. I mean, it's
So who does
everything's pointing in that direction. But
Who's LSU play?
LSU has, they have Michigan State.
I like Michigan State because I think Izzo. And by the way, do you have a problem, William Wilson, with Tom Izzo apparently getting agitated with one of his own players and being stern in the discipline?
You said agitate. You thought that display was agitated?
No, tell me the deal, because I have no problem with
All right.
coaches. I don't have a problem with coaches.
Apparently,
getting
one of
people's
his
faces.
guys, I
don't have
forget
a
the name
problem
of the player, didn't hustle back to the satisfaction of head coach Izzo. So they're coming back to the huddle. Izzo's going after the guy, and
He had to be restrained.
he had to be restrained by
Twice.
other players on his team to say, "Coach, back off." Other coaches and other players had to keep Coach Izzo back. And then during the huddle, apparently Coach Izzo didn't like the body language or how the player was accepting the criticism, and he was lunging forward. They had to hold him back again.
Now, I feel two ways. Now, once it becomes physical, that's different.
Well, he didn't touch him.
Well, I'm saying,
Nobody could get to him.
but if the only reason you didn't touch me is because somebody stopped you, your intent was physical. If your intent is to be verbal, got no problem with it. If your intent is to
We don't
bench
know
me,
because he got
no problem with
intercepted.
it. Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said if.
Right.
I said now if he had the intention of going and laying hands on that player, if that player lays him out in the middle of the court, I got no problem with that player doing that, because whether you're a coach, you're a player, you're a person first, you have a right to defend yourself. Now, and if that player would have thought, a coach going to attack me, and his first thought is defend himself, because there should be certain things that are commonalities of environment. You should expect your coach to yell. You should. We're on this deal. You and I go back and forth all the time.
Right.
Now, if I ever come out and I pull one of these numbers and you swing, that's different. Now I can say, well, I didn't hit it. We were just yelling. No, you were yelling. You made a physical act of aggression.
Right.
Now you respond to my physical act of aggression. You're defending yourself. You don't know what I know. You don't know what my skill set brings to the table.
Right.
So I have no
You ever
problem
heard
with that.
ever heard of the term Davy Jones locker? Mm-hmm. All right. just
I'm a
keep that
Navy
in
man,
mind.
of course
All right,
I
keep
am.
that in
My
mind.
issue with the whole situation was it wasn't.
I also heard the term,
necessarily-
everybody got a plan to get punched in the mouth.
It wasn't. I thought it didn't look good. How he acted. My only issue is he was getting praised for his passion and how much he cared. If Bob Knight does it, Bob Knight's a bully.
That's my
Bob
point.
Knight's a tyrant. Bob
Some
Knight
coaches,
should be out.
I think Mike's point, and I agree with it, is some coaches, he's just being aggressive. He's coaching the guys up. Whereas some coaches like, he's overbearing. He's not a good coach. He's bad. So I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Not everybody has to have the same personality either. Coach K doesn't have to have the same personality as Bob Knight did, or Roy Williams as somebody else, and that's fine. Everybody's different in your coaching. But why is it that Tom Izzo does this act and he gets praised for it? Bob Knight used to do it, and he gets vilified.
Look, the double
Just throw a chair.
And I'm not a fan of it.
The gold standard is the double standard. and that's really kind of how it works out. You know, Cam Newton has 3 children with the same woman, but she's a stripper. He gets vilified. Tom Brady knocks up Bridget Moynihan, leaves her pregnant, and gets her Giselle. No one talks about it. Tiger Woods can walk through, if he's yelling, fussing, whatever, he's passionate, focusing the game. He's passionate about golf. Woody Austin does it. He's a hothead and insane. You know, if we like him, it's okay. You know, Trump can say anything he wants to. His supporters, everything's cool. If Obama says the exact same thing, Trump supporters hate him. It's just the double standard. If it's your guy, it's okay.
What door you walk out of? It's like wrestling.
Exactly. If he's not your guy, then remember when what's his name? Just throw me the ball. 7-Eleven. The Panther wide receiver they brought in. No. Keyshawn Johnson.
Oh, Keyshawn.
When Keyshawn was at Tampa Bay and they nullified terminated his contract, and he went to Dallas. Panther fans talk so much trash to me about Keyshawn going to Dallas, y'all, blah, blah, blah. Now, Steve Smith pulled his hamstring. The Panthers signed him. I remember going to that fan fest and seeing fans, the same people that talk trash to me. Yep. Yeah, Keyshawn. Because now Keyshawn was their guy.
This supports your contention that people are going to say, oh, I don't like the Panthers. They signed Eric Reed.
If
Eric Reed scores a pick 6 to win a game, what's going to happen?
What happened when he was here?
That's how it is everywhere.
But think about it.
Eric, he's right. That happens everywhere.
Yeah, they didn't like Eric Reed. No, you bring in one of these guys that's kneeling. They brought in Eric Reed. He kneeled every game, and no one said anything.
Dennis Rodman was the biggest villain to the Bulls. They hated him, everything.
Until they played for him.
Until they signed him.
So we signed him.
He was valuable. Then
we loved Dennis Rodman.
And he didn't go off the deep end until he left the Spurs, and then when he went to the Lakers, I don't know what happened.
Roger Clemens signs with the Yankees. He was the worst. He was a former Red Sox, and they hated him. They couldn't stand him. He was the worst, and then he signs with the Yankees. And we love him.
That guy made a lot of money.
But
it's tribal.
I'm not so naive to think that Bob Knight is the same class as Tom Izzo, because Bob Knight has done a lot more things to get all the issues. I'm just thinking that was very similar to something that Bob Knight would do, and Bob Knight would be the lead story.
But Bob Knight didn't have a separator. He actually did choke that kid. Bob actually did get physical.
He did go for the throat, and he did throw a chair. So
he did stuff. Bob Knight followed through. But it's not. But it is.
Right.
But Bob Knight followed through. You know, that's the thing too. When you attempt to do something, you've always got a little bit of wiggle room. Say, I wouldn't have this. I was just angry. Once you actually make contact, or you throw the chair across, Bob Knight. When you say Bob Knight, the first name I think of every time I hear his name is the chair. That's the first thing I think of.
I think of Puerto Rico because I wrestled down there for so many years. But he had an issue. I don't think he could go back.
A police officer. He had trouble with a police officer in Puerto Rico.
Oh, I had no idea about that.
There's a lot more mileage. I get a lot more on his quote-unquote resume than Tom Izzo. I get it. I just didn't understand why Tom Izzo gets pass.
I'm looking forward to that matchup. We have a potential North Carolina-Kentucky matchup.
Oh, yeah.
A potential Michigan State-Duke matchup.
Yes.
So there's a lot of good potential, and Tennessee-Virginia matchup.
And this is the deal with the tournament. Last year was all Cinderellas. You had Loyola, Chicago,
right.
UMBC.
Sister Jean.
Now, is it a better tournament when that happens, or is it a better tournament when all this higher?
Some people want all the Cinderellas in, and some people want the big schools in. The favorites.
What your preference? I think for the first 2 rounds, it was. If it wasn't for Duke, UCF, the whole tournament would basically be boring to me. I didn't get a whole lot of interest out of it, other than that game was really exciting the way it ended. Now you get into the Sweet 16, and I want to see the best go out.
Hey, you'd be ahead of me in my iHeartMedia bracket because I got 12 of 16. You got 13. And I'm 47th out of 62. I'm in a tough bracket. That's a smart bunch of people.
Well, because people are still playing chalk, so all those players are still in.
Right.
They haven't been a big upset yet, so everybody's still in.
I mean, most of my was chalk, except I had Oregon in the Sweet 16.
Of those 62, 30 of them probably all have the same Final Four.
Right.
So if Duke goes out, depending on who got your Final Four, then you could have been. Now you're number 2.
Go Wahoos, by the way.
I'm hoping Texas Tech and Tennessee get in there, because then if Texas Tech and Tennessee get in there, then I might make some headroom. Final Four before we get to our break here. Can you give me some Final Four? You got
I don't have one. I never do a bracket.
Who's going to win?
I'm gonna go Carolina.
Oh, you're going out on a limb there.
Well, I mean, all right. But of the Final Four, there is no real limb.
We just said how chalky it was. So
it's all chalk. No matter who, I could have said Virginia. I could have said UVA. They were number 1. I could say Duke. No matter who I say is
fill out a bracket anymore. I did it this year just for right before the tournament started, just for the heck of it. And I have Florida State, Virginia, Kentucky, and I'm not sure if I can't remember now if I have Duke or Michigan State. I have those two.
So basically, Duke or Michigan State, Kentucky, Florida State, and then who else?
Virginia.
From Virginia.
Virginia.
Okay, and I got Virginia winning it all. All right. I have Duke,
From the
North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas Tech. I have Duke beating North Carolina in the final.
from the outhouse to the penthouse.
So notice this. He's like, way to go out on a limb. His final is Duke and Carolina. You're in the same
How
limb
many
I was.
times
I
have I said, give me Duke and North Carolina, and you can have the field?
Yeah.
I've told you that many times.
Yeah.
And I said, if you gave me Virginia, I'd give you odds.
Yeah, so you talking to, but you're like, way to go out on a limb.
By the way, I had Michigan State.
Way to sit on
the
the tree trunk.
Yeah.
Best dressed coach from Coach Moten from North Carolina Central, right?
Could be, but there's
I
some
told
good
you I
looking-
saw his suit there
Yeah,
in the play-in game.
Yeah, but there's some well-dressed guys out there, man.
I have seen
there's
some
a lot of them.
well-dressed guys. A lot of guys. Tony Bennett does good at Virginia.
Yeah, there's a lot of really well-dressed
LSU's
coaches
interim coach
on the sideline.
looks good out on the sideline.
There's a lot of those guys out there.
North Carolina.
budget's not bad there, even if you're at a lower school. The
Oh,
budget-
Jaquita just tuned in.
Ah.
Hey, Jay.
Love Jaquita. You
Look
know
how
that.
you see how his face lit up.
Yeah.
That's like me telling you. You see how his face lit up, Jaquita. You see.
Man, you know.
You just made Kevin's day.
I know. It's easy for her to do, but it's hard for everybody else. What can I tell you? All right, so you got North Carolina. I got
think it's
Duke.
hard for her.
and well, it would be. I'm very.
Shut up, Kevin. Shut
All
up.
right.
Before you get yourself in trouble, stop
Virginia,
talking.
Virginia, North Carolina, Duke. We're going with ACC.
Yeah,
Sorry.
can you tell what region we're in, what country,
All right.
what part of the country we're in?
But,
All right.
but this is, let's face it, it's basketball country.
It is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, though.
Yeah. No, don't
Any
question.
given time, you can say who's going to be the national champion in 2038. Duke or Carolina is a good guess.
And I will say this: Johnny Dawkins, to me, is in the lead for being the next head coach at Duke whenever Coach K
Well,
steps
a lot of
in.
people mentioned that after this game.
I said that before,
There's
but-
a lot of popular opinion that way. I mean,
Has he replaced Tommy Amaker as the potential?
Some
for a
other-
long time, Tommy Amaker was going to be the heir
I agree.
apparent.
And so it's
Those two are
first
the
of all,
top two people.
Can you really go wrong either way?
Chris Collins is at Northwestern. Wojciechowski is at Marquette.
No, they're both. I mean, the coaching tree that he's produced has been really impressive. There's
Mike
no
Bray's at
question
Notre
about
Dame.
it. Yeah, there was a time when he was the next guy in the
Yeah, I think Amber has done.
Amaker's
Amaker
at
has done the
Harvard now.
Harvard. He's done the most with the least talent. Even though he had really smart guys, and he's recruiting in the houses of the kind of players that could play at Duke if they're good enough.
Well, and Johnny Dawkins can say the same thing being at Stanford.
Right.
Now he got
Yeah.
himself fired at Stanford, but it's not
But the
easy.
academic, you have to get in as a student at Stanford before you're allowed to even recruit the guys.
That's what I'm saying. They're recruiting those. If you can get in Harvard, you can get in at Stanford.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So these recruits going to those homes and recruiting for those types of guys. So if we go out get, if you got the grades to go to Harvard, you got the grades to go to Duke.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no problem with
didn't.
Tommy Amaker either. I think he's an excellent coach as well. If
Yeah,
he
yeah.
decided to go that route, that'd be solid too.
Yeah, it's really it's a comedy of riches.
Yes, I agree.
We got some food back here. Before we go to a break, what we got here? We got some kind of chips and dip here, Will.
No, that's not me. They got the William Wilson wings. That's all I'm waiting on.
William Wilson wings, they look good, man. Oh, this looks like some kind of dry rub deal.
Oh yeah.
And pretzel.
I got it.
Mountaineer Mike's got it. So we're gonna take a break. We'll come back. We've got some a brief discussion of the Hornets, followed by some
Very
NASCAR news. This is Talking About Sports from the Dilworth
Very,
Neighborhood
very
Grill.
brief.
What's up? My name is Fly Ty, and I've been in the entertainment business for
40 years.
A little bit.
Long time.
A little bit. Professionally, 24 years. I've been doing radio for 24 years. But as far as entertainment, I've been in pretty much entertainment all my life, and I think that's what brought us together.
He barely looks 24, right?
Yeah, that's right. So how long have you been in the business?
A little over 15 years.
15 years? You're old. I didn't know you were
baby.
that old.
But I have been trying to get this job for 4 seasons. So I auditioned 2 separate times, and there was so much going on. So when I finally got it, it was mine. And then they let him guest host a couple times, and I was like, why is he here?
Because I'm amazing.
But he guest hosted a few games, and we had so much fun, and then they brought him on as a full-time co-host the 2nd season.
Yeah, so she's the co-host and I'm her. No, she's the host. I'm her co-host. Or however you want to say it.
I'm the one for you and you're for me. Ooh, yeah, yeah.
We became best friends, started hanging out all the time, and then we started secretly dating. So we decided to tell our boss a week before our wedding date. Right after the game one night, we said, can we have a word with you? And went up to his office. It was about 10 p.m. And that's when we said, we thought we would let you know that we're getting married on Friday.
Yeah,
and he was like
that.
what in the world? And so it was actually the day that we got married that everyone found out. Our friends, fans, you name it. That was when the cat was out the bag.
Our pregame ritual is rehearsal, laugh a lot, and then we pray before every game.
Yep.
So that's what makes the magic happen. That's a good question. I've never been asked that before. How many t-shirts personally? We do it twice a game, so I know I've thrown out probably 10 to 20,000 t-shirts over the last. No, seriously. You know, and they call me, you know, I know this.
What do they call you?
They call me.
God.
No, really, seriously. Like the fans, they call me Baby Cam Newton because I go all, yeah, because I can throw it to the 200 level.
No, they don't.
I can throw it to the 200 level.
He
like,
always
literally.
runs out and says, watch me throw it all the way up there.
All the way up
and
there.
Embarrassingly enough, it doesn't really get that far.
It's just like, I should have played NFL, but, you know, I love basketball, so that's bad. You know?
My favorite camera would have to be the dance cam.
That's mine too.
Because that's when fans are having the most fun, and to capture those moments, to see someone doing something embarrassing and then the whole arena go, oh, you know, and then we go back to them in a few minutes, like, I love it.
If I could hoop against any Hornet player, I'm gonna take it to another level. I'm like looking toward the bench and saying, come on, Mike, bring it on.
I would, of course, say Kemba, because he does like these, right before the game starts, they do those little things or whatever, and I would love to try and cross him up. Dribbling drills. And I would want to cross up Kemba. Yeah, I would cross him up, break his ankles.
Oh, man. That was a good answer. Mine's better.
My most memorable of all times would be a proposal right on the corner here, right behind us. There was a man, he got on his knees, he surprised his girlfriend, proposed, but now that it's been a few years, they actually have a child, and the child's middle name is Hugo, and they love coming to the games, and they like to be a part of that memory, and to see them, you know, 4 or 5 years later, having a little boy come into the game, and it's date night, and it means so much to them, just like the Hornets mean to us. That's memorable for me.
I didn't know that story. Is that a true story?
Yeah.
For a moment, I forgot that I was the arena host. I ran out on the court and I was taking video of Kimba. I'm like, man, that was amazing. And I almost gave him a high five while he was still on the court. Like, what are you doing? Why are you out on the court? I was like, man, like, yeah, I wanted to chest bump him, you know. Yeah. So that was one of my favorite moments. It's been about 6 years now, and it's been amazing. It's been a great journey to work alongside my best friend, because this is my best friend, even when she kind of makes me a little upset, you know, when she wants to run things, you know.
And so it's fun work that we do. It doesn't feel like work.
All right, welcome back to the Double Neighborhood Grill and talking about sports. William Wilson, Mountaineer Mike Freer. Great food as always here.
The best.
Pretzel, dip, William Wilson
absolute
wings.
best.
Great stuff here. And I love that feature. I love Fly Tie. and Jacinda Garabito. I used to work with Jacinda over at iHeartRadio. Tremendous human beings, both of them, and they do a great job. You ever go to a Hornets game? They really get the crowd going.
It is one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done at a sporting event is going to a Hornets game. Everybody, I've mentioned this before, I don't remember the last time I heard anybody, I'm from New York, so you hear from the crowd all the time. You hear all the BS, you hear all the profanity. I don't remember the last time I've been to a Hornets game and heard, garbage like that. You go to a game, they treat you right from the time you get in to the time you leave. It's a fun night. Now, we just all want a better product on the court, but whatever. It's not for a lack of the people that are doing the job there in the arena.
Speaking of the Hornets, I think, Mike, they're like 2 games out of the 8. I think they're in 10th.
Game and a half.
Game and a half. Or 2, so they gained a half game.
In the loss column.
So a game in the loss column, they're 10th or 8th, whatever.
They're 10th.
All right.
It's tight. They're behind the Magic now, who are in 8th place. The Heat are half a game back, and the Hornets are a game and a half back.
I like the Heat. I think the Heat have been coming on. You can't discount them, but I mean, the first round, you're going to get Milwaukee.
You're going to get Milwaukee.
That's 3 and done, 3 or 4, whatever it is. The series, Milwaukee's going to win that.
I don't necessarily think that if the Hornets were to get in, because the Hornets have played Milwaukee tough for 4 games now. They played them tough from the first game of the year to the last game.
I just like Milwaukee.
Not win,
one of my friends in Virginia, Peter Bassett, loves the Bucks and the A's, and I can't stand them both because of him. But I can't deny the Bucks are a good ball club.
Oh, absolutely. The thing about the Hornets that's really good right now, obviously winning 4 in a row and beating the teams they beat.
Beat the Spurs. I can't believe that.
The other night came from 18 down to beat the Celtics in the fourth quarter Saturday night. And they, obviously shocked Toronto with a half-court lucky shot, whatever. But they, no takebacks. You get it.
Are they in or out of the playoffs?
I think they're out. I think as much as I'd like to see them in there. I like the idea of pushing. The great thing that they're doing right now, and we talked about how bad Nick Batum's contract. It's really been addition by subtraction because Nick Batum's been injured, MKG's been injured, Cody Zeller's been injured, Tony Parker's been injured. So you got to throw these
Frank the Tank's been playing well,
and Malik Monk is playing okay.
Yes,
Miles
sir.
Bridges, as a starter, has been
Bacon has been playing good.
Talented. He is, in my opinion, if he works on his game the way Kemba Walker, worked on his game when he came in the league, he has a really good chance to be an all-star down the road. I really believe that about Miles Bridges. You can't say that about the other guys, but Frank Kaminsky was sitting on the bench the entire year, just right there having a conversation with a water cooler. He comes in the last 3 weeks, he's got a chance to play, and he's been solid for them. Dwayne Bacon's been back and forth in the G League. Now he's starting. Now, out of necessity, but he's been solid. He lit it up against the.
How about Jeremy Lamb, that last-second shot from half court against Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously it was a lucky shot, whatever. But he's been productive pretty much all year, and he's been great. They put him on the bench, and he's come back and he's been solid. So, I think they just put themselves in too much of a hole to really make the playoffs.
Right.
They got to go out west and play some tough teams down the
stretch. That's a tough road trip. The last 6.
They got four-game road trip coming up. They got the Lakers. They got the Warriors. They got the Jazz. And they got the Pelicans. So they can't win 2-2.
You take 2 and 2.
But they still had Toronto at home, which is not. Toronto's not going to be happy after what happened the last time. They still had the Pistons on the road.
You say they're out. Are they in or out, Will?
The Hornets?
Yes.
I'm going to limb and say they're in, barely. I think they'll play just good enough, and I think some of the other teams will lose out.
I think Orlando and Miami are hungry, and I think they're both going to go. And I like Dwayne Wade in there and putting Chris Bosh as number 1 in the rafters. I did like seeing that.
That was nice. But these teams are just the same as the Hornets. I mean, nobody's been consistent all year.
No.
You like the Miami Heat? That's great. They're still under 500. They're still out of the playoff picture right now, and they had a chance at home the other night against the Magic. And they got their butts handed to them in the second half. And they lost a key game. Magic and Hornets here in Charlotte, the last game of the year. That could be
winner take all.
And boy, that would be a lot of fun because fans are starting to get into it with the young kids.
All right, I say they're out.
I think they're out too. Just
out, and William Wilson, the voice of.
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna go on a limb.
Very positive.
They're in.
Very positive. To the second round. They're not. No, that's not going.
Let's not go that far.
That's not going to go.
They're going to be in. Kevin talking about making second round.
One MMA note: Conor McGregor is retired, and so we got that out of the way. So that's good.
Oh shucks.
Something that readers of the Independent Tribune of Concord and Kannapolis are very concerned about, Mountaineer Mike Freer, is NASCAR. And big news in NASCAR this week, they revamped the 2020 schedule. That's next year, by the way. The final race no longer at Homestead. It's going to be in Phoenix.
2 races on a Saturday and a Sunday in Pocono, which thank God you only have to
doubleheader.
go one time to Pocono. That's all you need.
Yeah, Long Pond stretch for 2 days in a row. That's gonna be pretty cool.
Martinsville Mother's Day weekend night race under the lights at
I think it's
Martinsville.
Father's Day.
I'm reading Mother's Day, but it could be wrong.
I think they got a race on Father's Day this year too.
All
I
right,
think.
but I'm saying this is next year.
I know about next year.
All right,
Next year
under
they
the
got a
light.
race on
I like
Father's
the
Day.
under the lights. How about Bristol in the Chase?
It should be. They got a road course in their taste too. I think now.
Yeah. How about and speaking of road course, Marcus Smith, president of SMI Speedway Motorsports, said that amenable to moving the All-Star race to Nashville in 2021. Nashville was a good track at one time. I don't know why they stopped going to the fairgrounds, much less build a new track.
Yeah,
But nothing's going on there.
I like the idea of I think he'll stay in Charlotte. Being amenable is different than saying, Marcus is a businessman. As a businessman, all options are open. The odds may be very, very slim to none, but when someone says they're amenable, that means someone asked him, would you ever think about moving it? And he probably said, I'm open to it.
Right.
It's just all the stars have to line
And
up.
you like
I just think it's crazy because you got All-Star Weekend right before the
600.
Coke 600.
Yep.
The drivers get 2 weeks at home. It's easy. The logistics are there. But on another token, though, it wouldn't be necessarily bad from a business standpoint because now people aren't spending 2 straight weekends at the track and all this other stuff. So it can.
the most important thing is how does it affect the Clother Classic potentially, which by the way is when this year and next year.
May 19th and 20th.
All right, well,
it really doesn't because it's the boat. We're bowling the night after the 600 All-Star race.
We're looking forward to the Clother Classic again this year. Also, you're a fan of racing, period. You like 4 Wide Nationals next month at the drag strip. Also, Marcus Smith saying the open to an IndyCar race on the Roval at Charlotte. IndyCars.
I'd love to just have IndyCars back in Charlotte in general. One, because it gives me another opportunity to make another Champions jacket, which from the brand I always enjoy. But I just think it's just cool to see real racing. Because I don't really think I don't look at NASCAR. I always say NASCAR's for the fans, open wheels for the drivers. Because you can't just beat and bang against each other in open wheel. Those tires touch, you're both in a wall.
Also, the Indy cars haven't been on that track since tires went into the crowd, and there were some fatalities involved. Also, at SMI track, at Vegas, they're open to bringing back open wheel racing. They haven't had a race there since Dan Weldon's wreck in 2011.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that and you've been saying this for since we've been doing the show. NASCAR needed changes. Yep. They need to open up. And one thing Marcus Smith said was a firm no was midweek races. I guess there's no Monday night racing.
Well, I don't see the point.
Well,
Too many people got to travel and hotels.
That sounds like
you lose 2 days.
It's usually a weekend. I mean, this is like a weekend trip for people, right? For fans.
Now, how about next year? You're trying to get into the chase, right, or the playoffs, as it were. And you got to go to Daytona
to wrap it up. You could be almost in and then be out. And then I love that.
And that's the good news. And then how about your first week in the playoffs? You're at the Darlington.
I love it. 4 tires every time you come in. Yeah. But I like that.
Followed by Richmond, Bristol. I mean, short track.
I think all that. I think that is great. But that's only great for the people who are already watching in the first place. For the fans who don't follow NASCAR at all,
they're going to get any
Kevin's
new viewers?
tuned in. But the thing is, they don't know. If you talk to Chiquita right now,
I would. I'd love to.
I know you would. That's why I said her name. I know she makes you happy.
Oh.
If you talk to Chiquita right now, Richmond, Bristol, Daytona, Darlington, Watkins Glen, IMS, none of those things mean anything to her. They're just racetracks.
I'll take her to the Richmond race.
Right, but none of those things. You don't know what one's a short track, one's a long track. That doesn't mean anything.
What would be the one change if you could make to try and attract a fan like me who's not a fan, but somebody like me to watch it?
If I can only do, give me two. Give me two. I cut the races in half. I let the Daytona 500 stay full, but all the rest of them I cut in half. Because one, they're just too short. 2, I get rid of that whole lead lap cars move out of the way thing. Every time you pass a car, you got to pass one. Because what ends up happening, you end up with a guy, Brad Keselowski, got a 2-second lead or second half lead. So now he's come on a lap car. The lap car has to get out of your way or they get penalized. No, pass him again. Because if I got to work on passing this guy again, the guy who's behind me now has a chance to get caught up. So now I'm back intrigued into it. I just watched the race last week. There was no suspense who's going to win this race. He was a second and a half ahead of him. There was no suspense whatsoever. And the lap cars are just moving out of the way. Well, if you got to pass those cars, now the number 2 and number 3 car, they've caught up to you.
Yep.
Now it's competitive again. Now I have a reason to be on the edge of my seat. Darrell Waltrip can't sit there and, man, there's a chance. No. You can't say stupid stuff loud enough to make it a fact, and you can't take an actual driver or a race fan who knows it and convince them that something may happen, because you're waiting on a last lap wrap, a last lap wreck to bring the field back together.
All right, Mountaineer Mike, just tell us that you've got your press credentials already submitted, and you're going to be covering all the races this weekend. And give us a final thought before we go to you, William Wilson. You are going to cover the races, I hope.
Oh, I'm not. No, these races, no.
Oh, the Independent Tribune viewers.
We have people. We have
Okay,
coverage.
all right.
It's just not by me.
All right. You got a final thought here?
We mentioned it briefly, but I'm very excited about opening day. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And I will say this real quick. We hadn't talked about it. They're doing match play this weekend in golf. Rory McIlroy. 2 weeks from now is the Masters. If he can go and win that tournament with the year, he is on his way to having one of the best years since Tiger. If he's a top 5 guy all the way, finally got a win. I think if he wins the Masters, he's on his way to having
under a minute. Will, go ahead.
I like the NASCAR is open to making some changes, some schedule changes. Now I like some of the new rules package changes they're doing. Now they just need to change the stuff that actually matters to people who don't watch the races, and that is shorten these tracks and make the races more competitive.
All right, happy birthday to Tamika Wesson of Touch Styles. Happy birthday, beautiful as always. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill for Kevin Tolbert, Mountaineer Mike Freer, William Wilson. I'm Kevin Casey. This has been Talking About Sports. So long for now.
Let's eat.
Go Hogs!
Some more.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast for sports.
Somebody said trade Kemba Walker for No Leezy.
And No Limit Larry. I like No Limit Larry. I think No Limit Larry ought to get some playing time.
Wow. As Kemba goes, so go the Hornets. And that's how it was last night.
I've never wished Kevin would have won a bet more than I do right now.
Now, come on down to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, Talking About Sports.
Best food around.